Hi everyone, it's me again. I'm Carrie Sahan. I am your webinar coordinator, and I'm joined today with a special guest, Agata Mikolajewska. She is a PhD student at the University College London Institute of Education, and she's going to be telling us a bit about her PhD research, which looks at EMI in Poland. Agata, could you introduce yourself briefly and tell us also about your PhD research?
Hello everyone. Yes, my name is Agata Mikolajewska. The surname is very difficult to pronounce, so I understand.
Sorry for mispronouncing it.
No, you did very well. Good job. Yes, I'm a third-year PhD student at UCL IOE. My supervisors are Jim McKinley and Lee Wei, and I'm just about to start data analysis. I mean, I've started it, cleaning up the data set and figuring out, the timeline for the data analysis. And would you like me to say anything else?
Could you tell us why you chose to look at EMI in Poland, and maybe a little more about how you collected your data?
Oh, sure, yes. So I got interested in EMI during my master's degree. I was at the time in Oxford, where we've actually met. And I guess the EMI research group kind of inspired me to look at it broadly. So I was reading a lot of literature, reading. And then I noticed that there's a huge interest in EMI in countries like Japan, Turkey, Germany, but not so much in Poland. And that really struck me. Why is it the case? So then I started looking up the literature in Poland. And basically, people don't consider EMI as a phenomenon, like a separate thing to be talking about. It's more like, oh, we're just teaching in English. These are just studies in English. This is an English track program, so then, you go to a next level and you try to figure out why is it so. And yeah, I mean, my PhD is basically looking at what are the challenges that students and teachers experience in EMI courses in higher education in Poland. And well, the second thing you wanted to talk to me about was...
How did you collect your data? So you said you're looking at student challenges. How are you going about doing that?
Sure. So it was a two-stage process. First of all, I contacted nearly 90 higher education institutions, so nearly 90 universities, to ask them to distribute a survey questionnaire. It was an online survey. So they distributed that to their teachers, to their lecturers who teach in English on programs that are fully taught in English. So it could have been a full-time or a part-time program, but the sole medium of instruction had to be English. Just so I have a kind of a homogeneous sample, because there is a lot of programs that mix English and Polish together. And the second stage was to invite these people who have filled out the survey to take part in an interview or a focus group. So they could choose which one they prefer. And I did interviews and focus groups, interviews with lecturers, and then interviews and focus groups with the students.
Mm-hmm. I'm quite struck that you were able to reach out to 90 universities, which means that there's a lot of EMI programs in Poland, but there's so little written about it in terms of the EMI literature. How widespread is EMI in Poland, or maybe could you tell us about the history of EMI?
Yes, okay, so it's very interesting. Poland has become a fully independent country only in 1989. I mean, we were an independent country before, but we're still under a strong influence of the Soviet Union and of the Russians. And I guess when the Soviet Union broke, the most important thing for Poland, for the country, for the nation, and for the education system was to move away from, whatever was connected to Russian language or Russian culture, to remove it from schools as soon as possible. And that was about the time when English was a globally recognized language. So it kind of came in handy to put it as a foreign language at schools. So I was talking to a person who actually was at school when the change kind of happened. So one year, one academic year in June, the teachers were Russian teachers, and from September on, they had to be English teachers.
Oh
So
my
they
gosh.
were doing like very extra speed teacher training to be able to teach English next semester. So that was a hectic time. So I guess that's why, that's why English. And in terms of why EMI is growing, I think so because EMI as a term doesn't exist in Polish literature or terminology. We will refer to it as studies in English, as I said before. EMI is not growing through EMI policies because there is no EMI policy. It's more of a byproduct of internationalization, but still they do not recognize EMI as a separate phenomenon. It's more like we have to teach in English because we want foreign students to come into the country, and that's almost the only way to bring them in.
Interesting. So it sounds like it's a bit organic as opposed to top-down imposed in Poland.
Exactly. So when you compare that to Japan, when you've got the top global, top 30 projects, where, okay, by this year, you have to have this amount of EMI programs, this amount of foreign students, it's a more kind of, bottom up in Poland.
So could you tell us a bit more about your methodology in terms of data collection? How did you develop the questionnaire, and then how did you distribute the questionnaire to so many participants?
Sure. So with the questionnaires, it focused on language-related challenges. So I adapted the version from Heathrow's. So he was using this questionnaire in a study in Japan with Mikołaj Aizawa. So I adapted that to the Polish context. I piloted that, and then put the survey up online, distributed the link to the schools. So I was trying, so there were two strategies to contact the universities. So either contact the program leader, so, kind of going from the lower level, or if that didn't work out, then I was going through the rector. So I was emailing the rectors and trying to get them to agree for participation in the study, and then if they agree, obviously the staff feel more obliged to either fill out the survey or just to pass it on to the students and other teachers. So I've done both of them. First, I went to contact the program leaders. If the program leaders are not responding, then I would went to the rector level. And I guess, so yes, so that was the questionnaire. And with the interview, it was more open. So I definitely wanted to see, maybe the language challenges are not an issue. So it was like a semi-structured interview. I was asking some questions about the linguistic challenges, but also leaving some space for possibly cultural or administrative problems that students and teachers encounter. And, we will see which one is the most common one.
It seems like cultural related issues or administrative issues might be particularly big challenges in this context. If the programs are aimed to attract international students, then you get sort of a mixed group. Did you find that there were a large number of international students on these programs?
I did have a lot of, well, it depends. It really depends on the university and on the department, and also who do you count as an international student. So for example, when you look at the statistics of international students in Poland, nearly 50% of them are Ukrainian. So it's quite, it's a huge group of Ukrainians, and then you have all of the other countries. And for example, we don't know how many students there are that study in EMI. So if you look at the number of EMI degree programs taught in English, there is about, I think, 800 of them, but not all of them are running yet, are up and running, because they can't get enough students to enroll in the program. That's one thing. And I guess, what was the other thing that we were talking about?
The challenges that these students reported. If it was an international group, did you find a lot of challenges other than simply language or language proficiency?
Yes. So in terms of language proficiency, that's, Poland is a very homogeneous country. And for example, for the teachers who have never been abroad or haven't had that much exposure to different accents, possibly they might have struggled with having different accents in the classroom. Same for the teachers. So same for the students, apologies. So I guess in that sense, linguistic challenges were there, but I think administrative ones were more surprising to me. So, for example, the timeline for visa is very difficult. I have one participant, or maybe two, who are particularly insisting on the fact that, you know, we have students who enroll in the program, who get accepted, but they end up not coming because the visa cannot come in time. So it's like the university issues a letter that is valid only for 3 months, and if they can't get the visa within the 3 months, it kind of gets cancelled. I need to get back to the process and to be fully able to explain it to you. But administrative challenges were definitely an issue. And for example, signposting on the university sign. So the universities that they've been offering EMI programs for, I don't know, 20 or more years. They do have signs in Polish and English, but the ones that, only recently started offering EMI programs, they don't have that yet. So international students need to have a little bit of Polish to navigate around the campus.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you're describing are problems that are similar in other contexts as well, where we see these new emerging markets of EMI, especially bottom up. I know you're quite early on in your data analysis, but could you tell us how you plan to analyze your data going forward?
Sure. So with the interviews, I want to do thematic analysis just so I can see which themes are really recurring themes, like topics in the data. And with the questionnaires is very descriptive because, as I said before, we don't know how many students we have enrolled on EMI degree programs. We don't know where they come from. There is no general statistics about them. So I want to definitely find out this, where are they from, whether they have studied in English before, why did they choose this course in English?
Yeah.
And I want to know what kind of challenges they experience, just so we can learn and possibly react to, so they don't experience these challenges as much. And well, I'm just cleaning the data now, and I will see how much I can do with them. But I'm hoping to be able to list some variables to be able to possibly put a correlation between prior education in English with the experience of challenges, to see maybe if they've participated in like a prep course, maybe that eases them into the program. So we will see how it goes.
It sounds like there could be some very strong policy recommendations coming out of this, especially since you're looking at it on such a large scale countrywide.
I have almost 800 interview questionnaire responses, I think. So hopefully after cleaning, more than 700 are in the data set. And with the interviews, I had 2 or 3 focus groups and then about 30 interviews. So that's a large data set, and it's going to take me a little while to analyze it all. But hopefully, yes, I will be able to put together some recommendations for the policymakers.
Good luck with that, and we look forward to reading your findings, especially because there's so little on EMI in Poland. It sounds like this could be a big study in terms of putting EMI in Poland on the map, on the EMI literature review map. I have one last question for you. You are a third-year DPhil student. Do you have any tips or recommendations for new PhD students or students who might be thinking about starting a doctoral degree?
Okay, so for students who might be thinking about taking up a PhD, please think about your supervisor. Email people, talk to them, phone them, go for a chat with them. Be sure that they are the people that you will spend at least 3 years with them. At least they will be your, it will be you, the most important person in your PhD, your baby thesis that you're working very hard on, and then your supervisor. Like, choose wisely. So think about that a lot before starting. But I think once you start, be sure that you're comfortable with feeling lost. You will feel lost at a lot of points throughout the journey. And I think the last thing would be take opportunities as they come. So try to apply for as many things as you can, for as many conferences as you can, because you will be rejected. If you apply for research funding, you will be rejected. I'm telling you that now. But after 5, maybe 50 rejections, 4 very lucrative acceptances will come. So I guess it pays off. And when you're doing your PhD, you're in kind of like a safe space. Nothing depends on you. You're still under your supervisor. You're still in the process of learning. So if you finish your PhD and then you start applying for, I don't know, research grants, that's like kind of more serious situation. So I think it's a safe space to apply for things while you're doing your PhD.
That's some good advice, to treat everything like a learning experience. And I can
Yes.
echo the advice you said about feeling lost. I think there's always a point where you feel stuck in your PhD and have to just really push
It
through.
really does when you try to build your theoretical framework and then you come up with how you collect the data, but then these two don't stick together well, and then the outcome is something else, and then you really need to, but your PhD is not going to be flawless. You have your supervisor to make sure you're on the right track, but it's not going to change the world. It's a learning process to make sure that you can and will be able to become an independent researcher.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Agata. It was great talking to you, and take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.